Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time this week and spending it here with us, right here on NAC I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, welcoming you once again. Joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in this week.
Good to be here again, and good to be out of today's heat. If you're watching it the day of, pretty toasty, like 29 degrees Celsius today.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's got that feeling of summer already arriving in Neepawa, just in time, hopefully, for the Chamber of Commerce Fair, which is going to be happening this weekend. We're going to have a lot of coverage on that and discussion on that, most likely in next week's edition of the Story Behind the Story. But this week we got a little bit of celebration already, but this is a little further down the highway into the community of Gladstone, and more specifically, William Morton Collegiate. And Casper, you've got that front page expose talking about a really great feature they decided to do for the school.
Yeah, this was something great to have come in. It sort of happened pretty quickly coming across the desk there. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get out there ourselves just with timing and staff availability, but they held a full day celebration there, really just sort of, celebrating all of the cultures that are present at the school. This was an event that sort of came about throughout discussions with, families, students, etc. Just seeing who would be interested in sharing their culture. And it had a great response. There was about 19 or so different displays made that were put on in the gymnasium, I believe it was, that staff, students, etc. could go and visit and learn about the different cultures that are there at the school, and a bit more about each other as a result, and different things, artifacts, whatever, in relation to that culture. Taste out some delicious foods as well, play some games, and enjoy some dances. There was a variety of dance performances put on, and yeah, it really is just such a great diversity there. Like a couple I can name off the top of my head here without looking. There was Bosnian, Anishinaabe culture, Métis, of course, Ukrainian culture as well, French Canadian, and just so much more. And it's so great to see an event like this. I know here in Neepawa, our culture has become more diverse as well. Of course, we have a very prominent Filipino community now, which is absolutely fantastic. And we have a lot of Ukrainian as well here, and I'm sure some others that I'm forgetting. And it's always fantastic to see those cultures celebrated and put on the forefront, because they're very, very wonderful and diverse.
That's really nice, and it's really thinking outside the box, I thought, in terms of taking all this diversity that you have within your own school and showcasing it so everybody, because really we don't know enough. Even though we live together in a community, sometimes we don't know enough about each other's distinct communities outside of Neepawa, whether you're from Philippines, whether you're from Serbia, whether you're from Aboriginal populations or cultures or anything along those lines. So to be able to share that was fantastic. We would have loved to have been able to have shared it in person as well, but as Casper sort of touched on there, it happened, if I remember correctly, I think it was on a Wednesday or a Thursday of last week, and we were committed to obvious other things that were happening in and around the office to get the paper ready. So
just sort of unfortunate timing and circumstance on that part, but yeah, very wonderful to see this happening. I had a wonderful conversation with Teresa Wright about this, and really, yeah, just sort of helped, I feel, and she talked about this as well, but give a sense of pride and community to everyone at the school, and fit really well with one of their recent developments as well. They had a culture and wellness center put into the school in February, so that really sort of lines up well there, and with what they're trying to promote.
Nice. Would definitely like to have seen that with our own eyes, but that's the reality of working in a small town and for a small town paper. Sometimes you sort of get figuratively landlocked, as it were, to the desk because you've got to take care of these other commitments. Unlike some newspapers, city newspapers are a prime example of it, because when you're a reporter in a city paper, do you know what you do? You report on things. And that's it. But that's not the way it is in smaller community papers. You're not only a reporter, you're also a photographer. But you're not also a photographer, you're also part of the internet IT staff. But you're not only just part of the internet IT staff, you're also some of the front desk staff helping customers. But you're not also part of that front desk staff, you're also part of the delivery and shipping system that brings in stuff. So it's a diversity, not only a diversity in the story we got here, but we got a diversity of roles that happens in a small town paper. And as great as that is, you want to be able to sort of be flexible in that, but sometimes that does lock you to the building. More often than not, it seems nowadays, but we do appreciate when you get in touch with us and let us know. And we're very appreciative of William Morton Collegiate letting us know in advance, and they were very understanding. We said to them, we would love to be there in person ourselves. However, due to time restraints and just sort of getting the paper ready, we can't get out there and get back and get the paper done. So we do very much appreciate they sent us all those pictures. Casper was able to take care of some of these interviews with Teresa Wright, if I remember correctly, over the phone. Was able to gather some of that information. So we're still able to share the story with you, even though we weren't able to face-to-face share it with the people who were creating the story. But again, thank you very much for any and all sort of news tips. This is a perfect example of that. They reached out to us. They said, this is something we want to share with the region. And we were so happy to be able to do that, at least in this manner. That's why you need to pick up a copy of the Banner Press. Check it out yourself. You can see it. It's on page 1 in living color. Continued over on to page 9. Wonderful to be able to share some of the experience with you. All right, let's shift gears. We're going to go over to a story I wrote up recently. It seems like a lot of people who lived in Neepawa or represented Neepawa in some way, shape, or form are getting the due recognition years after the fact. A couple weeks ago, we had a story about the Curling Hall of Fame and an individual who was rightfully recognized and put into the Hall of Fame. And this week, we're going to go from the ice onto the gridiron in terms of football, and we have a former coach, a well-known, well-regarded coach, Laurent Legermodier, a gentleman who actually coached before I came here, so I didn't know much about his history or tenure here. But as I researched the story, I learned about the gentleman and was really found, wow, he really did deserve this recognition. Laurent has been recognized and will be one of the 12 or so individual members who will be going into the Manitoba Football Hall of Fame in the fall. This is a significant deal. His contributions to high school football and the Rural Manitoba Football League, huge. Nearly 2 decades, he served as a coach with the Neepawa Tigers. His last year, if I remember off the top of my head, was around 2003. He had a perfect season with the Tigers that led to a Rural Manitoba Football League championship in that perfect season. Not only that, though, this is part of it as well. We learn just like you learn when you read the stories. I learned as I was doing the research that he was a standout running back for 4 years with the Brandon University Bobcats football program. And I got to admit, I had no idea whatsoever that they actually ever had a football program there. I went to university at Brandon University in the early 90s for several years, and I did not know that. I knew they had a hockey program there. They just scuttled the hockey program a year or so after I left school, but their basketball program is well renowned throughout nationals. They're one of the top national programs to this day, but they were huge in the 90s as well. But their football program was well regarded as well, and as was he as a player for 4 years. Then he moved on, he became an educator, and through educating, he became involved with high school sports. He actually did some coaching as well in basketball, but this is more primarily focused on his football tenure, nearly 20 years, as I said. So I had a chance to speak with him over the phone, and he was very gracious and humbled by the experience. He said, when it comes to something like this, whether it's football, whether it's curling, whether it's hockey, any type of sport, if you keep doing it for a few years, you can't stop looking at it as what it is. And what it is a game. It's a game you got into because you loved the game. You enjoyed the game. You had a passion for it in a positive manner. Once you lose that passion, once you lose that positivity, maybe it's time to step away. And that's the great thing. He never lost that passion. He never lost that positivity. And he never lost the concept that this is a game, and games are supposed to be fun. Sure, winning's fun. Boy, winning is really fun. But it can't be the be-all and end-all. It can't be the obsession. And he put that into the students and in the players he had in the program. He had them understand that. And that's how you create a successful, not only a successful program, but a successful person as well. He said, these are the lessons I hope they take with them on the field, and these are the lessons I hope they keep with them when they step off the field. And I think they did that, and I think that's a big reason why Laurent Legermodier is being recognized in the manner that he is. So, I know you're not a big sports fan, Casper, but aside from the sports aspect of it, what was did you have any takeaways or anything you wanted to add?
Well, I feel reading the story, and of course everything that you've said as well, I feel that you really get a good essence of who Lauren is from this, and it's always great to hear about these things happening, because it's not very often really that you hear about someone getting inducted into a Hall of Fame from your community. And yeah, like you said, like it's great that he instilled this thought that yes, you know, take things seriously, but also have fun. Like don't do too serious. Yeah. It's good to have that balance, you know. And like you said as well, you know, a lot of stories are actually learning experiences for us, and that's part of maybe this. Of course, this isn't really quite on topic, but that's part of why I actually quite enjoy this job. There's a lot of times where I've learned things that I didn't know, and it's been a wonderful and just educational experience, and I always like learning new things. So this very much was part of that, and very happy to have become acquainted with Lauren's story.
That's right. Again, his coaching tenure ended in around 2003, around 20 years ago. Now, again, I didn't come to Neepawa for the Banner Press until about 2014, so his time was before my time here. But learning about his experience and what he brought to the community was gratifying for me, and I do hope, I'll throw this out there from time to time, I'll see if I can magic it into happening of some sort. A little surprised that we've never sort of officially started calling the football field here Legermodier Field. Pardon me, that was a bit of a tongue twister there. I think maybe somebody at the school or the school division or the football program needs to start thinking, yeah, that's maybe a good idea. Maybe we should look into checking out, maybe purchase a plaque or something, or put something up there to recognize this individual who was so important in making the program what it is and what it continues to be today. So I'm just going to magic it out there. Maybe somehow in the airwaves, somehow it'll be, you know.
A little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge there, yeah.
I could do it myself, but, you know, nobody listens to me, Casper, really. You know.
Well, the suggestion is out there, so I mean.
You know, I'm more the comic relief of this town right now, so, but hopefully somebody with some tenure and some experience and some clout gives this some consideration and maybe moves on it, because it's well-deserved. All right, let's shift attention. We're going to get into more of some of the technical aspects of what we did with this week's paper. If you pick up a copy of the Banner Press anywhere in Neepawa or around the surrounding regions, or even if you see it online on mywestmen.ca, you're going to notice, holy heck, there's a lot of ads in here. That was one of the funny little things that happened in this week's edition of the Banner Press. We had a short week because of the Victoria Day long weekend, which meant we missed a day. We had one day off. It was a nice little break. But that means you're sort of rushing when you get back to the office. And this week we went into that weekend sort of wondering, how are we going to make the color work? In this paper, I'll just go through some of the technical aspects if you don't remember them. Average 20 pages paper. That's what we usually do each and every week. But we only get guaranteed about 8 pages of color. That's just the way our printer is. They're not able to print color on each and every specific page. They're only able to do it on 1, 2, 19, 20, and if you're in 20 pages, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's it. That's all the color. So sometimes we've got plenty of room. We're able to put big pictures, bright pictures on there. And this week, nope. You'll see it. We thank Fraser Auction Limited. In fact, we're going to give them an extra commercial right here on NAC TV. Fraser Auction Limited got a pair of sales coming up June 14th in Oakville and another one June 20th in McDonald, Manitoba. If you want the specific details on those, you can find them on page 19 and 20. So we appreciate them running those 2 huge ads. But as well, we had other ads on page 2 is completely and utterly filled with ads from TIC Parts and Services, Assiniboine Community College for its practical nursing program in Neepawa, Total Works Truck and Equipment, and Taylor Law Patterson LLP, a consistent supporter of the Neepawa Banner Press. So things were a little easier, Casper, in that way, in that 3 of the 20 pages we have to fill with information, we didn't need to worry about it all.
They were already filled up. Yeah, no,
after.
exactly. Yeah, it really was just a full paper, sort of right from the get-go almost, with the ads that we had. And then, of course, we have some features this week. We have the Neepawa Gladstone Co-op Home Center, a couple pictures there on 10 and 11. And then, of course, we have our home and garden this week.
Yep.
So we had ads for that as well, and some story content there that perhaps people might get some use out of. And yeah, it was just chock full. We were like, oh, this is an interesting situation.
That's the funny thing as well, because when we're putting together the numbers for what we got for color ads, you have these certain numbers. It's like 1,000. Let's just use 1,000%. All the color pages is 1,000%. All right, and we've got 970% filled with ads. You think, oh, that's great. You got plenty of room to be able to put them. But then you've got weirdly shaped ones. Some will be a full page. Some will be 3 columns wide on a 6-column page. And that's what we ran into with part of our Neepawa Gladstone Co-op Home Center and our home and garden features, is that the color actually wouldn't fit on one specific page. So we had to expand it out. We had to sort of do a little Tetris thing, or for you, if you're not into electronic games, a little bit of a puzzle piece put together, which was a little complicated. So we had a few minutes of just like trying to think, oh geez, how are we going to make this happen? But we Tetrised it together somehow and made it work, and actually put content on there as well. That's the one thing. We have a little fun within the back. Diane Warner, who's in charge of putting together all our ads, obviously ads for her is the be-all and end-all. And for me, as a reporter, you know, the words, the pictures, the news is the be-all and end-all on that. So it's always a little bit of back and forth on that about the significance. Of course, I understand ads do pay for the newspaper. Ads do keep me in food and rent, which is appreciated very much. But at the same time, after a couple weeks, if it were just ads, people wouldn't pay attention to this paper. You got to have some local content in there as well, some news in there as well, because otherwise it's a penny saver. And let's be honest, most of you probably throw out the penny savers you get without request in the mail or whatever. They probably go straight in the recycling. So it's that nice little balance. You try and be 50-50. This week it was 85-15 on the color pages, but I promise you we made up for it on the black and whites. In fact, we can say so by going into our next stories here. A couple stories I wrote in relation to town council. It was a very quick to the point meeting. If you haven't seen it, it does appear every other week on NAC TV. Check your local listings to be able to see the council meetings, or you can attend live. You don't have to.
But you can.
I have to, but you don't have to. But because I have to, I'm able to share the essence of the meetings with you, and this is one of those. Neepawa has improved the construction of a pair of viewing towers along the walking trail. Great trail, as you know, passes through Neepawa. It is the national walking trail, stretches from one portion of this great nation to the other. And we're going to be putting up a couple, about 30-foot walking or viewing towers, I should say. It's something they've been thinking about for the last several years. The only difference is now they were originally thinking of putting them up in wood, a bunch of them in wood, but because of the elements, because of other reasons, they felt it was in their best interest to make these metal towers. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to be putting 2 up. One of which I believe is going to be over at Park Lake, Rotary Park, and the other one is going to be right over by the High Life Back 40, the walking trail portion that passes through the bike park. So that's going to be happening sometime before November. They're going to start getting to work on that. I think it's a nice little thing. It's going to give a whole new view, a whole new perspective of Neepawa for people who like to walk.
Yeah, I know obviously they wanted to do more towers in the past, but I definitely think with the elements considered, it's a good move to go with this new material instead. And of course, with the changing cost of materials, that's completely reasonable for them having to reduce the number of towers that they're building. But yeah, I really hope that once they're built, people will enjoy them, and I think it really will give a nice new perspective of the area. We have a lot of great natural areas that we can enjoy, and even just like in town is just so beautiful and vibrant, I feel. So give us another new way to enjoy that, I think.
Most definitely. They also did a little other work on their last council meeting. This one, big deal. We've talked about this many times on the pages of the Banner Press. The nursing program from Assiniboine Community College is going to be coming to Neepawa in early 2024. They need to retrofit, however, the old RCMP building, and the town of Neepawa is moving forward on that. They have hired a company called Cutting Edge. They had the low bid on this renovation for $460,000, just under $761,000, just a little bit under that. And they're going to be doing the retrofit on the building, because the building as it's set up right now, obviously it was more like office space for RCMP, administration, things like that. Needs to be changed, altered into a more classroom learning specific sort of setup and structure. So they're going to be doing that. They're going to be trying to do that ASAP, as quickly as possible, because the program wants to start up in early 2024, and we are already almost into the end of May, Casper. How the heck did that happen?
I'm very puzzled about that too. I really don't know. It just seems to be a continuing trend from the past couple of years that, things are going by really quickly. And I have to say, at first I was surprised seeing that it was going to be the old RCMP building used for this. And then I got thinking, it's actually a lot bigger than perhaps just me, thinks it was, because, when I was in there, I only went in there really quickly to like the first room to say, hey, is there like a couple of photos from, Mark Morehouse's like earlier years at the RCMP, because we were doing that feature at the time. And that's just a small section of the building, and the building itself is actually quite large, so it should hopefully work for them really well.
It's a deceptively large building, and it's going to work quite well, I think, for Assiniboine Community College and for the town of Neepawa. So they're going to be moving on that as soon as they can. We got a few minutes left, so let's just talk real quick about a couple things. Baseball season is underway. I got a story in here on the Mendoza Mavericks. After an extended hiatus from the Santa Clara Baseball League, they are back in action, and they played their home opener last week. Most likely you didn't get a chance to see it if you're not from the area, but you can read about it in this week's edition of the paper. And in next week's edition, you're going to be able to read about the Neepawa Cubs home opener. That just happened. If you weren't able to be out there in person, of course you can watch it the rebroadcast of it right here on NAC TV. Check your local listings for times, or you can read about it in next week's edition of the Banner Press. It was a thriller. It really was a great game and a great night out at the Diamond. Of course, we also talked about the golf course. The last couple weeks, they've been up and operational, and they've really come into form. They're almost in prime summer season right now. A combination of a great melt over the spring and some hard work from the staff and ground crew have really made things come into form over there. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, of course, you can find that as well on the sports page, page 13 in this week's edition of the paper. Let's finish off, though, with a submission. Actually, no, it wasn't a submission. It was a picture you took, Casper. Neepawa Choir Concert. They've were able to give some support to some local organizations, and we've got that picture and a little bit of information on page 17, I believe.
17, yes, there we go. I was looking for it as well. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was on one of the back pages.
It's in here somewhere. It's next to an ad.
It is. And we have plenty of ads, don't we? But yeah, they held their concert recently on the 10th, and great. We talked about it previously. It had a very full attendance, always great to see. And this week they were putting out the funds that were raised from the silver collection there. So we have that photo on page 17 of all the presentations being made. Nice big photo, everything happening all at the same time there to a few different groups, that being Arts Forward, the Knox Church, of course, and the Neepawa and Area Fine Arts Festival. Each of those got some donation from them. Always great to see local, supporting local, and that is a great example of that. It helps our community sort of grow and, just have a nice support going for each other.
Most definitely. That is really nice that they were able to be, first off, successful, that they were well attended, and that they were able to make the profit in terms of that, so they were able to cover their expenses and then have some money left over to be able to help with these local organizations. You don't want to take these types of things for granted most of the time. They're trying to do something good. They're trying to be part of the community, and this was a great opportunity for that. So if you didn't see it, hopefully you'll get a chance to see it next year. Now, we're coming up towards the end of our latest edition of the Story Behind the Stories. There's so much more we could talk about. We could go into our special feature for Home and Garden. We could talk about the Rural Manitoba Football League, had an all-star game against Saskatchewan. We've got some details on that. We've got other stories and, of course, our regular features. We're going to leave that up to you. You got to check it out. That's why you need to pick up a copy of the Neepawa Banner Press anywhere in Neepawa or surrounding areas, all the way into Brandon as well, actually. Or if you're not able to pick up a physical copy of it, you can always find it online. It goes live on mywestman.ca every Friday morning at around 9 a.m. Central Time. So we do appreciate the support that you bring us. So that's about it for now. Casper, as always, glad you were able to share some of the details from the stories you worked on this week.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me here, and everyone for sticking around and watching.
And again, we always thank you as well. We appreciate your support over the years. We most definitely appreciate you picking up the paper, supporting it through advertising, or just through reading our stories. And if you have any story suggestions, any ideas whatsoever, you can always reach us here at the Neepawa Banner Press, 476-3401, the number that we can be reached at, or via news@neepawabanner.com. Anything via email. Like I said, we try to get out there. We would love to be able to get out there in person. Can't always do it that way, but we try and track it down. And we need your help in that case. So, once again, thank you very much, and it's always wonderful to be able to be here on NAC TV and share with you each and every week the story behind the stories. Have a good week.